What's happening, guys? We're back. We got parts today. All right, we're back in the shop and we got some parts delivered. You remember a long time ago we went and 3D scanned the chassis and drew out all of our filler plates and our firewall and whatnot. I just got them cut. They look really nice. These were all water jet by Landon up at Trigger. So we got those to install. I also picked up some extra aluminum. I just took basically half a sheet from him. So we can cut out our firewall and build some extra brackets and whatnot. So we got those. I also went and picked up some stainless steel exhaust tubing. So we have, I think, everything to build the exhaust. I also picked up a V-band for that. And then we're slowly getting in some of our fuel system components. So I got like one of the inline fuel filters and some other bits and bobs. So I think today we are going to focus on putting our panels in. And then maybe cutting the firewall. We'll see how much we have time for. So to put those in though, we're gonna have to pull out the steering column and the pedal box and whatnot. Pull that out, make a little bit of room, and then we're gonna nutsert them all in so that we can pull them out later. And then yeah, just start marking them, drilling them, and shoving them in. So let's give it a whirl. All right, I shut you guys down yesterday afternoon because I was on daddy duty and my kid woke up. So I just kind of shut you guys off. I didn't do an outro or anything because I knew we were gonna pick back up today. And then I came out last night, man, cars everywhere. I came out last night and did the passenger side off camera just because working off camera is way quicker. So today we're gonna finish up the driver's side and then probably mount the tunnel plate and the top cover, and then that'll be some pretty good progress. So when we left off, we had drilled the top 2 holes, gotta drill the bottom 2, put the nutserts in, and then once we're done nutserting that in, I wanna talk a little bit about drill bit sizing. So let's get going. right, that foot panel's looking great. Next step is gonna be the tunnel kind of side plate. But before we get started on that, I want to talk to you guys really quickly about why I'm changing drill bits so often while we're mounting these things. So we are using M4 hardware, and an M4 hardware would take, I think, a 4mm hole, but I don't have metric drill bits. So I'm using a 11/64 hole for the fasteners, and then the nutserts would also need some sort of weird metric bit that I don't have. So I found the equivalency is a 17/64 bit. So 11/64 to drill the aluminum, 17/64 to drill the steel. But I can't go straight to these. What I do is the first operation on anything I do is an 1/8" pilot hole. I use 1/8" for just about everything I do here because I can buy these bits, these 1/8" bits in bulk. I buy them in like packs of 50 and they're double-ended. So I end up with like 100 drill bits for cheap. So when I break them, which you inevitably will break a bit while you're drilling pilot holes, I don't end up with a big set of bits with just like one missing out of it, because that pisses me off. So everything gets drilled with an 1/8" first, and then I can bring the aluminum ones right up to size because it's not much of a jump. But to bring the steel on the chassis up to size, I'd have to make a pretty significant jump. And what really kind of kicks me is this final bit, let's say for the nutserts, the 17/64, I've broken it in the past already. So it's normally like that long. So the tips broke off, and then I've just sharpened it with the bench grinder. So it doesn't have a perfect tip on it anymore. So it's really crappy for drilling out holes. It's really good for reaming a hole out to final size, but it's not good for drilling it. So I drill it out with a 1/4" drill bit first because it still has the virgin cutting edge on it, and then ream it to final size. So that's why there's so many operations in every fastener gets 4 holes drilled for it. So we drill everything out with the 1/8" pilot hole, and then we bring the aluminum ones to final size with the 11/64 bit, and then we drill out all the steel holes up to a 1/4 inch, and then we ream them to final size with the 17/64. So there's a lot of bit changing just to mount one panel. So with that out of the way, let's mark up this tunnel plate, get it mounted. Well, you know the phrase, better lucky than good? I think we put that to the test on this one. Look at how close that nutsert is to that top hole. It's actually like just barely there. There's the nutsert. So we made it. It fit, but I probably should have marked out kind of no-go zones on my plate for spots that have things like the bolts that hold the steering column on. But, oh well, we missed it. So, we'll bolt this guy up and carry on. All right, before we can mount this kind of top plate, we need to cut it because this goes kind of all the way across, but our pedals pop out the top here. So what we're gonna have to do is actually build a bit of a box structure for our pedals to pop up through. So I'm just gonna cut it along this bar here, so we'll be able to fasten it all the way around the perimeter, and then we can build a pedal enclosure system later, and then we can even weld that probably onto this guy, depending on how it works for pulling things apart. So let's cut it and mount it. All right, so everything's looking pretty good, except for the time that we have for the rest of this episode. So when we started, we said, you know, we're gonna get all these panels mounted, and maybe even start on the firewall, yada, yada, yada. We're not gonna do that. What we are gonna do, we're gonna leave the panels the way that they are. And the thing that I wanna do before we finish this episode is remount my pedals and steering column. So we're gonna have to do some trimming. The pedal box mounts to this bar right here, and you can see where these there's a hole right here and there's a hole through here, and then there's actually the piece of angle iron on the pedal assembly right here, kind of hugs that bar. So we're gonna have to trim the angle iron on the pedal box assembly, and then we're also gonna have to trim out a couple of areas on this aluminum plate, and we have to cut a hole right here for the steering column to go through. So I wanna get that done before we're done the episode, and then I think that's a good place to stop. Unfortunately, in order to pull this panel out, we need to pull this panel out as well. So we basically just have to undo everything we just did, and then trim it all up. So let's do it. All right, we're looking good. We got the pedal assembly and the steering column put back in. We had to drill a pretty funky hole in that kick panel in order to get the steering column in. We're gonna have to come up with some sort of solution to seal that up in the future so we don't get a bunch of exhaust fumes and debris and whatnot into the cabin. But other than that, everything's looking good. We notched the brake pedal assembly and the kick panel here so that they kind of interlace together so we can get all the bolts in. Yeah, so we're looking pretty good. Unfortunately, I am out of time today, so we're gonna leave that there for now. Next week, kind of the logical thing to do, we could start on the pedal box enclosure and the FireWall. There's a couple other panels that we need to make. So I think what we're gonna do is mount the hood. So we'll see you guys then. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button. Go check us out on Instagram, Left Foot First Media, and we'll see you next week. I'm out of here.